welcome into another edition of Inside ULM Athletics. I'm Mike Hammett. We're without Scott McDonald today. He'll be back with us next time on the program. We're going to talk a little women's basketball today with head coach Jeff Dow and also sophomore Whitney Goens. First, some housekeeping, as Scott and I normally do, talking about some of the events going on around campus. Men's basketball coming up at home again this week. They'll host Troy Thursday at 7 o'clock, South Alabama on Saturday at 2 at Fant Ewing Coliseum. General admission tickets, just $3 for Thursday's game. Saturday is also Youth Day. Youth 18 and under get a free general admission ticket. After the game, children 12 and under will be permitted to shoot baskets on the court. For tickets, call 318-342-HAWK or visit ulmwarhawks.com. Both games are also available on ESPN Plus and on the Warhawk Radio Network from Learfield on 105.3 KLIP. Saturday, another Warhawk women event, Dugout 101, with head baseball coach Michael Federico and head softball coach Molly Fickner. An opportunity to get familiar with the ULM baseball and softball programs. The cost $25 per person or $200 for a table. Dugout 101 begins at 11 a.m. Saturday at the Student Union Building ballrooms. Also in conjunction with that event, ULM baseball and softball teams hosting a free kids camp for boys and girls from kindergarten through 8th grade beginning at 11 a.m. at Warhawk Field. That camp will be a fun, interactive learning environment where all kids will be able to harness and improve their skills in all aspects of the game. Campers will be able to interact and obtain instruction from many of the players, including the upcoming 2019 ULM teams, coupled with an autograph session at the end of camp. Again, free kids baseball and softball camp, 11 a.m. Saturday at Warhawk Field. And now on to what we're here for today. Women's basketball. Head coach Jeff Dow joining us, and also Whitney Goens, a sophomore on the team this year, and coach this season. A successful non-conference slate anyway to help get you going and maybe build a little confidence with this team. So overall, we're sitting here a little over halfway through the season now. What's been the takeaway from this team? What have you learned about this group?
Well, a little up and down, obviously. Had a great little stretch there in the non-conference with a 5-game winning streak, and of course it had been several years, I think. I can't remember the number, if it was 12 years or something to that effect, but since ULM women's basketball had won that many games in a row, so that was obviously a lot of fun. But a little disappointed. We kind of felt like we could have kept it going, and we were pleased, obviously, to have a winning record in the non-conference. We just thought we could have been a little bit better than what we ended up. But, conference play, obviously, we've seen, the competition has stepped up, and more so than maybe what we saw in some cases in the non-league. And the inconsistency has been, part of the struggle, with us, especially on the offensive end. I think, as you've seen, Mike, typically in most nights, the defense has been there. The defense, for the most part, has given us a chance to win, but just, like I said, some of the inconsistencies with our shooting has kind of been the biggest, bugaboo, if you will, I guess, to this point. And if we can tighten that up a little bit and be a little more efficient, I think we'll have a chance to obviously to finish well down the stretch. And it's with the conference, with the mirror schedule, a little bit different this year, not having double headers, and I think we're starting out with 5 out of our first 7 on the road, which nobody would say that's ideal, but it is what it is, and you play the schedule that you're given.
You mentioned that defense being so solid, top scoring defense in the Sun Belt Conference, second in field goal percentage defense and 3-point field goal percentage defense. What's been the key at that end of the floor?
Well, I think the buy-in for starters has been much better than maybe what we had with last year's team. I think they've embraced that, kind of being a tough-to-score-upon defense. And typically we do a pretty good job of anytime a team is running their set plays, their first or second option, we typically do a pretty good job of taking that away. We've gotten better, rebounding the ball as well. So, again, if we do force a miss, a lot of times they're not getting easy second-chance opportunities. But I think before all of that, just our transition defense is it's marked improvement would be an understatement, compared to last year. And we talk about that a lot. I mean, if you can just get back in transition, take away the easy stuff right away in the first 10 seconds or so, and now force teams to execute. And, again, we've done a pretty good job and a little quicker, on the perimeter. I think for starters that has helped. Jamie Means and Whitney as well have certainly been a presence around the rim, blocking shots. I think they're both ranked in the top 10 in the Sun Belt in block shots, so that certainly helps as well to shut down drives and that type of thing. But I think we were talking about it on the coaches show yesterday. If I remember right, I think our half-court man-to-man, according to there's a statistical thing out there called Synergy, and we rank in the 93 percentile in the country. So meaning we're better than 93% of the country in that particular area. So that's one thing we've kind of been able to hang our hat on for sure.
Whitney being a part of this team, and like I talked about with Coach, their defense is like a point of pride with this group. What goes into that in practice and your preparation for these games? Because it seems like it's been pretty solid, especially here in conference play so far. Right.
Well, something that we really focus on is not only what the coaches are telling us, but what also we hold ourselves to. So teammates, we don't really let us go below the standard. We're always going to make sure that we're always working hard, and we can take criticism from each other, which is a really good strength in my opinion, because if you're not willing to get a different perspective on maybe what you're doing, maybe not completely wrong, but not completely right, then you can just maybe tweak something that you're doing wrong and make it even better, because your teammates know that you can do better.
With this group, what do you see as maybe the biggest thing you can work on here as we go down the stretch of the season? Right now you're in the mix to be in that conference tournament, and it's new this year. It's not a guarantee to make it. So what's the big thing to work on here as we head down the stretch of the season?
Well, I definitely think the chemistry is there. Like I said, we work hard together, but something to work on, maybe just a little more effort, a little more hustle will get us to where we need to be. The mentality's there. We know what the right thing to do is. So just giving out complete 100% just the rest of the season is what I think we need to focus on.
You come to ULM, of course, you're from Louisiana, from Anacoco, so go through this process. I mean, there's other schools that are closer to Anacoco, but you come here to ULM. Why ULM, and why be a part of this university and this team?
Well, basketball has always taken me right where I need to be. It's always been a greatest blessing in my life. When I first came to ULM, I didn't know much about college basketball, and I was thankful for Coach Dow just kind of sitting me down and explaining the whole process and everything. And I explored campus and everything it had to offer, and the fact that it was in Louisiana just made me feel like I was at home. So it's been a great experience for me. I love it here. The awesome people, awesome community base. So, yep.
Close enough to home, too. I think your folks are at a lot of games, too. I think I see them around quite a bit, too.
Every game, yes, sir.
Well, looking at the campus, too, like you mentioned, what are you doing on campus academically? What are you looking to do here?
So recently, I just changed my major to kinesiology, and I felt led to do this because mostly because of college basketball. I've come here, and I've realized, my gifts have kind of just blown up, I guess you could say. Living in a small town, you don't see much of what you can do besides what you can do there. And so coming to Monroe, it's not big for some people that are from like Texas and stuff like that, but for me it's big, and it's been a great eye opener to see like what the world does have to offer. And so now that I'm in kinesiology major, I'm really exploring more of fitness and what you can do to help your body thrive and stuff like that. So, but also keeping basketball right next to me, so that's still an option.
Absolutely. Coach, somebody like Whitney, what does she bring to this team and add to this group?
Well, a lot. Obviously, just off the floor, a tremendous ambassador, not just for ULM women's basketball, but our athletic department and our campus as a whole. Consistently, one of our top student in terms of student athletes on our team. One of the things as a coach, you love to have an entire roster of what I would say is low maintenance. I mean, people that you never have to worry about, anything off the court, certainly on the court, extremely coachable. I think one thing she referenced, and talking about the team, about we know what the right thing is or the right way to play, and Whitney has a very good grasp of that. And one thing that we've kind of had to put her in a position this year, whether it's be injuries or whatnot, of having to learn a couple different positions. So sometimes she plays the 3, sometimes she plays the 4, and in some cases, depending on what we're running offensively or defensively, that can be radically different. But she has a very high basketball IQ, so that's something that I think she has embraced. Taking on that role. There's a lot of plays that we actually run that are specifically where the ball will go through her hands. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I think she's still leading our team in assists, has a positive assist-to-turnover ratio, because we're relying on her to make the critical decision, as to whether to make that pass or not, and we like to feature her in that regard. She has the length and the basketball IQ, as I said, to make those kind of plays. Plus, gives us some perimeter shooting as well. And as I alluded to earlier, defensively, she's kind of taken up another notch, this year as well. And I think last year as a freshman was good for her, kind of got, sort of a baptism under fire, if you will, and playing the number of minutes that she did and starting quite a few games, and certainly was probably a bit of an eye-opener, I'm guessing, from coming from Anacoco to the Sun Belt Conference. But and you can see the ease at which she's made the transition into her sophomore year. And I think typically most players, probably the biggest leap they're ever going to make is oftentimes from their freshman to sophomore year. I think they just have a better grasp of what's going on, and there's no question she's definitely one of our leaders, on the court, day in, day out. Great effort. It doesn't matter whether it's an individual workout or preseason conditioning, but so it's really been fun to see her evolution and development as a player, as well as a student as well. And I think big things are ahead for her as well.
Coach just mentioned that, Whitney, to make that jump from a freshman to sophomore. How much have you seen that in yourself and what you understand on the floor and what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it's definitely different than last year. Last year, I would definitely call myself timid last year and just trying not to mess up. And this year, Coach always talks about confidence and just finding that confidence. And also, Coach Cooperwood is always telling us that if you don't have confidence for that shot, it's not going in. So that can also transfer to the defensive end. If you think that somebody's going to score on you, they most likely will. So sophomore year has definitely been a mental game for me, just realizing my talent and realizing how mentally strong that I actually am. And that's really helped me just to thrive this season and to, just be confident in what you're doing and know what you're doing, and it'll spread to your teammates also.
This team, Coach, of course, I think any team looks at your group and they see Arsula Clark and what she does, coming off a double-double, too, this last weekend. And her energy on the floor, it just strikes me every game that what she's bringing to the table, trying to get to the basket, create, do something on the offensive end. She's active defensively. To have someone like that on this team is – what does especially Arsula bring to this table, and how can everybody kind of feed off what she does?
Well, obviously extremely competitive, in two particular areas, as you said, driving it to the basket. She knows she's going to take a lot of hits, and, we've tried to work with her, and I don't want to use the word settle, but every now and again you might have to just, take the 12-foot pull-up jump shot, and rather than trying to get all the way to the rim where sometimes you're going up against 6'2", 200-pound bodies, and she's 5'9", 140, so there's a little bit of a mismatch there, but she gets to the free throw line a ton, obviously because of that, because she's always putting foul pressure on the opponent. Of course, sometimes in some of those drives, she's collapsing the defense, or she's drawing defenders, allowing herself to kick it out for somebody to get a three, or in some cases dish it to the post. But I think the one area that has just been remarkable, is that given her size, if you will, is how well she rebounds. And she's had games, I think just the other day, recently, I know 6 offensive rebounds, 6 defensive rebounds. At this exact moment, she's actually leading the Sun Belt Conference in offensive rebounds per game in terms of Sun Belt games only. And when you look at a team like Troy that has 5 different players, all of which are bigger than Arsula, that are averaging over 2 offensive rebounds a game, and in spite of that, she's surpassing all of them. And obviously, there's some other tremendous rebounders in this conference, but she has a knack for it, and just kind of has an innate feel, to where to go get the ball, find the ball coming off the rim, and I think she understands that that's a great opportunity for her, obviously, to get scoring opportunities as well. And I think you referenced this yesterday. I didn't even realize it at the time, but she had 3 and 1s, on Saturday against Lafayette. Obviously, that shows the ability to finish around the rim. take the hit, at the same time. And I think she had a couple last weekend as well. So, but certainly brings a lot to the table. And I think as we talked about now, the next step for us is just having more balance, surrounding her and just more people on a consistent basis, chipping in 5, 6, 7 points a game and kind of, obviously the defense is there. We just got to crank it up to another level offensively.
So far this season, been relatively free of any major injuries.
Yeah.
But you've had some bumps and bruises here and
Right.
there, and I think some nice additions. You've added Amber Thompson, Lauren Fitch to what you've had. Destiny Lunsford had a great stretch during the non-conference. What do you look for? I mean, this group, we talked about a little bit on our coaches show this week. You just want that consistency from some folks to get to 4 or 5 points a game. It all adds up in the end, and really, it seems like you have some nice pieces to get there too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a number of people that are certainly capable and have shown it, in different stretches, different games, in no particular area, but starting with threes. I think that's something that, we're not necessarily blessed with a tremendous amount of depth in the low post, so we're not necessarily featuring that a whole lot. So we have to understand that, as we talk about have your feet set, ready to shoot it, that is definitely part of what we're trying to do offensively is get, as we call it, the in-rhythm threes. But we've got a lot of people, certainly, Tiara Malone, Whitney, of course, Destiny Lunsford, Lauren Marker, Amber Thompson on occasion, Lauren Fitch on occasion, Logan Ostrich. So we've got a lot of people that are certainly capable of chipping in from three. That's one area that there's no the dancing around it. We've got to shoot a better percentage than what we have done of late. But still at the same time, finding a way to get more shots around the rim. As a big part of our success in the non-conference was getting to the free throw line as much as we were. We were averaging over 20 attempts per game in the non-conference, and that number now is probably hovering around 10, per game. And that's a big hit, and you have that big of a drop-off in conference play when it's been something that was good for you, in the non-league, because you can't get overly reliant on threes, clearly, but that's where we'd like to see us, find a way to get more shots around the rim, which are higher percentage shots, and they often lead to free throws.
I also want to talk inside, too, because you've got a freshman there in Jamie Means that started every game for you so far. Diamond Brooks is back from a year ago. You've used Shaniqua Coatney, another freshman, a little bit. You're young inside, and I think that makes it difficult, but also shows, there's a lot of room for improvement, and you see that at times. You see flashes inside from time to time.
Absolutely. And Jamie's game is more of a, at this point, given her size and everything, and, more of a face-up game, but, really deadly. Hit another one the other day, that little 15 to 17-foot baseline jumper or high-post jumper. She's very comfortable with that, so that's good to see. She's got the occasional drive from the high post as well. I mentioned this earlier, but she certainly has been a presence on the defensive end and understands what we're trying to do and plays hard on that end and had a nice effort, I thought, rebounding-wise the other day and bounced back. She's seeing, getting into Sunbelt play, going up against these bigger bodies, is certainly a challenge for her, and we're always trying to remind her that her quickness and her positioning, she's got to put those to use every time. And because she's going to be giving up probably 30 pounds in a lot of cases, so she's got to be in the right spot and use her quickness. Diamond Brooks, had a nice game the other day. I think made all 3 of her shots. So that was good to see. We'd like to get her going offensively as well. Again, just to have a little bit of an inside presence. Shaniqua Coatney, again, has had her moments, maybe a little bit of that freshman inconsistency as well. And then Brianna DeLon, we're actually anticipating she's potentially playing her first Sun Belt Conference game. She's been out for a few weeks with an injury, so she's yet to play in a Sun Belt game. And she has a little bit of an inside-outside game as well. And again, maybe one more player that can give us a little scoring punch.
Off to Troy and South Alabama this week. Women's basketball returning home next week. Coastal Carolina and Appalachian State, and going to be home for a lot of the month of February. I guess that's a trade-off for being on the road here a lot in January. So it's going to be nice to be back home.
It is. Like I mentioned earlier, it wasn't ideal to when you get that schedule and you see that you have 5 of your first 7 are on the road. Of course, on the flip side, our men had 5 of their first 7 at home. But at the end of the day, everybody ends up with 9 home games and 9 road games. The Sun Belt play, and as you said, there is going to be a pretty good stretch in February that where we are playing at home, so that'll be nice. But and critical, as we've talked about, obviously you've got to do well, in your home games. Try to steal one here or there on the road to find a way to move up in standings. It does it's obviously very early. You know, most teams have played 6 games, but it does appear there's going to be a great deal of parity, I think, within the league. And again, I would say Troy and maybe Little Rock have kind of asserted themselves at the top. But you know, after that, on any given day, it's really kind of hard to say. And even a team like Coastal Carolina, who had a really good non-conference record, you know, has struggled, you know, out of the gate, and you know, you'd be stunned to see that they have 0 wins at this point. I know they're a much better team than that, so it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out.
And Whitney, to be able to come back home in February, it's a lot of time on the road right now, but how excited are you to be able to play at home again and get a lot of those late season games at Fant Ewing?
No, I think it's actually perfect timing. You know, we had obviously a rough start at the beginning of conference, and I think that our JUCO players have their eyes open now, our freshmen have our eyes open now, and even our returners are like, okay, like this is conference, this is it. And I think coming home at the second part of conference is going to be even better. We're going to have the home crowd and the first half of the experience from the first part of conference. So I think it's actually perfect timing. I think things are really going to shape up for us in the end, so I'm excited.
It's Whitney Goens, head coach Jeff Dow. Thanks for joining us today. And that'll wrap up another edition of Inside ULM Athletics. Again, women on the road this week at Troy, Thursday night, 6 o'clock, Saturday in Mobile against South Alabama at 3. Both of those games, you can find links to watch it online, or better yet, you can listen on 105.7 KMLB. I get to make the trip and be on the call on those, so it'll be a fun time this weekend in Alabama. And that's another edition of Inside ULM Athletics.